Hello, my name is Rachel Brandon Hopper, and this is my poster covering continued support for first-generation graduate students. As I started this project, I identified a few online articles that seemed to point to an issue in higher education regarding the first-generation student population and their level of readiness and support as they pursued a graduate degree. This general information dive highlighted a few key concerns that eventually culminated into what you see now. The expectations of first-generation graduate students are almost unfairly similar to those of their continuing generation peers, and where undergraduate institutions have been able to incorporate numerous best practices and theoretical approaches to support these students in that area of their education, graduate programs fall behind. I interviewed two professionals for this project. Dr. Robert Wallace, a longtime faculty and advisor at McMurray University, a private institution located in Abilene, Texas, and Ms. Shalonda Towns, a graduate advisor at the University of Texas at Arlington in Arlington, Texas. These interviews assisted me as I delved further into the current research on first-generation graduate students. Dr. Wallace spoke about the importance of guided mentorship for his first-gen undergraduate students and how, without those types of connections, students will often go into the next stage of their education blind to the challenges that graduate school faces, or instead talk themselves out of pursuing further education because they feel as though they are not prepared. In my interview with Ms. Towns, she also spoke about how mentorships could benefit the students in her program. She also mentioned the importance and recognition of language barriers, as students who come from an international background may not understand institutional language such as first generation in the way that national students do. This barrier is incredibly important to acknowledge, especially since many institutions define first generation differently. The research found in this process indicated a major gap between undergraduate and graduate student experiences for first-generation students. While the research as it relates to undergraduate students is already well developed, there are limited resources for the graduate students in this population. Taking note from Havens 2022 and Garriott 2020, we can see that professionals in higher education lack an understanding of the major impact that intersecting identities play within the first generation student experience, and how as students continue with their education, they are receiving less support, guidance, and understanding regarding those facets of their lives as it relates to their education. Hudson et al. 2022 indicate a major need for change in graduate level advising and support for first-generation students. In their study, they identified first-generation students who felt as though they were not receiving sufficient support to succeed, while their faculty and staff members assumed the services and mentorships that they were providing met or exceeded expectations. This only bolsters the idea that there is a disconnect between students and the professionals working with them at the graduate level in relation to support and academic success. Strayhorn's 2019 book has a chapter dedicated to graduate student support, which emphasizes the need to reinforce students' sense of belonging and positive social experiences to increase the chance of success and meeting positive outcomes. As it stands, graduate programs are not consistently meeting these needs for their first-generation students, and as this population continues to grow, institutions must take action now to ensure their future success. I identified two programs that are currently making an effort to rectify this issue of first-gen graduate student support. Georgetown University's McCourt School of Public Policy's Mandatory Orientation and Foundations course provides all students entering the program an opportunity to learn basic graduate program information, etiquette, expectations, and other key components that students without prior graduate level knowledge would benefit from without feeling isolated due to their experiences. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has implemented the Carolina Grad First program, which offers direct services to their first-generation graduate population, including advising, mentorship opportunities, first-generation focused networking opportunities to assist in their development throughout the program. As higher education continues to expand its knowledge and practices to better benefit the first-generation population, these efforts must also be reflected at the graduate level. A major need for the future research will be to close the gap between undergraduate and graduate first-generation experiences and needs. This can be achieved through scholarly and practitioner development and dedication. Along with that, identifying current models that work for undergraduate students that can translate to the graduate level, acknowledging the socioeconomic impacts that remain after the completion of an undergraduate degree, assessing and redeveloping current advising models, and creating inclusive and accessible language surrounding the first-generation student experiences are all ways that institutions can consider implementing to improve their support and impact on first-generation graduate student success. Thank you for taking the time to learn a bit more about the need for continued support for first-generation students as they pursue education beyond the undergraduate level.